Welcome to the Rock Solid Families podcast. This is Merle Hutchinson alongside of my wife, Linda Hutchinson. Hello, hon. How are you today?
I'm relishing in the last day of freedom.
I think we've had a number of shows where you've made that statement about the school year's ending. I'm assuming the school year's ending, and this is what's on your mind. You're going to lose your freedom after today.
I actually heard
your morning routines.
I actually heard someone, a woman today, talk about how moms were taking off this week to get that last day of freedom. Doing me stuff and not having children under your feet, and so. Yeah, it's about to change. So.
You know what's different too is just the routine that changes, right? For the last 9 months, we've been in, hey, the alarms go off at this time, people start moving and shaking. These are the things, that happen. And so that, and that's going to be even different this year for us this summer, because now we have 2 drivers in the home besides you and I. And they're getting up at different times to go to work, and sometimes one doesn't work till later. So, well, I can sleep in today, or whatever. So there's just going to be a whole different routine, and probably not even a routine.
Yeah, it used to be where like, what are you doing today, Mom? Because they wanted you to drive them somewhere. Now it's like they got their wheels, they got a plan. So, yeah, thankfully we're still working because they get more and more expensive, by the way, as they get older.
Yeah.
But that actually goes with what we're talking about today.
Yeah, it does. That leads us to our conversation. So we're wrapping up the school year. We're coming into summer. One of the things that I kind of used to jump on your case on is, hon, your job is not to entertain them. They have to go and do this stuff on their own. Now that's kind of changed. Not that they want us to entertain them, but they want the world to revolve around them, right?
And they want you to still take care of all their needs, but they want all the freedom and they want no responsibility.
Right. And
like,
so
that's a typical teenager.
And as parents, we're not to blame them. That is, if that shocks us, we're just being ignorant about what it is to grow up.
I have to admit, I was a major consumer. I was. My dad gave me a gas card and handed me a new car at 16, and And you know this.
Thanks a lot, Dad. I'm still trying to clean this mess up.
And we've talked about that. I got a brand new car at 16. You got a car for $25 with the engine in the back seat.
Yeah, on the back of a tow truck. Yeah. But nonetheless, it's the idea here is we're going to talk about: are you raising your kids to be producers or consumers? Yeah. And so let's be very clear. Nobody is either one or the other. You're always producing and consuming at some rate, right? The fact that you're a living being means you have to consume to have energy to do that. But also then what are you doing with the energy, right? Is the energy only to come right back and feed yourself again with more stuff? Or do you have enough energy left over to feed others, right? For the good of the population and maybe the family or the marriage or whatever. So the idea here is this does not just happen randomly.
No.
Okay. So anyway, before we get too much deeper into that, let's thank our sponsors, and then we'll get rocking and rolling here.
Yeah, we want to thank our sponsors, Casey's Outdoor Solution, Maxwell Construction, and the Hoosier Ice House for their support of what we're doing here at the Rock Solid Families podcast, but also the organization that's behind this podcast, and that's Rock Solid Families. And so if you're just hearing about us for the first time, we would love for you to check us out at rocksolidfamilies.org. We are a faith-based coaching organization located in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio area, serving individuals and couples and families through the power of God and His Word. So we would love for you to connect with us.
Definitely not the power of you and I.
No. Right. And we would love for you to subscribe to the Rock Solid Families podcast. Subscribe to the other podcast that Merle produces, and that is the Strong Dads podcast, which is him with other men doing real life.
We got a new spin going to be coming onto that soon. Probably should be in June. And I'll be announcing that here
That'd be
soon.
cool.
But it's probably got a new spin coming there.
That's
It's going to
awesome.
be some fun stuff.
So just check us out.
Okay. Last week we had our monthly parenting class, and so just want to make you guys aware of that. The fourth Saturday of the month, we have a parenting class, our Families Rock class, that is being offered down at the Firehouse on Tate Street in Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Yeah.
It starts at 8:30, goes to noon, and that's just a great opportunity, guys. It's $75, and you get great bang for your buck. You're going to get well over 3 hours of counseling, and sometimes you're going to even see it almost feeling like a one-on-one counseling session because the number's small enough. It's intimate enough that you can ask a lot of your own specific questions.
So the next one, as we
interest.
record, will be June 22nd at the Lawrenceburg Firehouse.
There you go.
Yep. So tell me about our topic today, because you're the one that introduced this idea, but we've talked about this and we work with families all the time on this topic. But why this topic?
Well, we started talking about the idea of our own kids and our
Summer's
own kids. The idea that they demand more out of life as they get older, right? I should say more expensive things, right? Like they want cars, they want freedom, they want clothes, they want shoes, they want all these things. And it is our job to help them understand, well, what is all that about? What's it cost? How much time will it take? They don't always understand that it takes a resource to get these different things that they want. And so if they're 16 years old and their eyes are wide open with shock, like, I didn't know that the car cost $10,000, then that's on us as parents. We probably dropped the ball somewhere.
It was so funny you said that, because we're talking about the end of school and them getting, doing work and earning money this summer. And of course, our 16-year-old who just got his license in a car, he's all excited about making that money. And then he mentioned how he has a car payment because he's paying us, we're the bank, and he's bought his car from us, and how he has to pay it. And he's like, and I said June 1st, and he's like, well, how about June 29th? I said, well, I'll be like the bank and have interest, and he's like, interest? I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you don't make your car payment within 10 days, you start paying interest. And so he didn't like that idea.
Yeah.
He figured as long as it's in June somewhere. I'm like, that's not how life works.
Well, and to be real honest, he doesn't really even know what interest payments are, right? And because we're, again, this is part of our job as parents to say, okay, like you need to understand what goes into these kinds of things. And so the idea here is we are all producers and consumers, like we said before. But as we get older, is our dominant mindset, do we always see life as it revolves around us, or are we part of the life? Are we putting into life? And so what is your mindset? If your kid is constantly stuck in what today's world might consider a selfish, narcissistic mindset, which is that entitlement, much of that, outside of mental illness, much of that goes to us as what kind of parenting that we may have been doing. I'm listening to an autobiography. It's actually Priscilla Presley about Elvis Presley,
which is crazy now. Like Graceland,
and this just came up, and I was like, that'd be kind of interesting. I want to know what kind of character Elvis was. What kind of actor or performer, famous person he is, but behind the scene, at least the picture she's painting is one. He was very, very nice and compassionate as long as it served him well. Right. And so everything was about him, and you go, wow. But then you find out how he was raised. And he was raised by a very protective mother because they lost a child early in life, his actual twin brother. And so she overly gave to him and gave him, even though they were a poverty-stricken family, he wanted for nothing.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that just really grabbed my mind. Like, here you have this guy who's ordering people around. He's yelling at people. And just like everything has to happen around him. And
consumer.
Like, where did that come from? And in large degree, it probably came from how he was
parenting.
raised.
So we were having dinner the other night, and our daughter has graduated from high school, and we were talking about debt and saving money and credit cards. And I said, hey, this is the time when all the credit card companies come after you, right? Because you're 18, you can make decisions on your own, and you're getting out in the world, and they love to connect you with a great credit card at 32% interest, right? And so we started talking about that. And thankfully, she is in a class right now of Dave Ramsey and learning financial peace. And so she's talking about, and our 16-year-olds, again, doesn't get it yet as far as like, what does that mean? It's like, well, sure, you can go buy that $1,000 TV for your, dorm room or whatever, but you're going to pay 32% interest. So you're going to pay so much more back on that. And so, really about that, I got to have it now kind of mentality, right? Like, oh, I can credit, I can charge it and worry about it later. But the consumer mindset is all about me, what I need and want right now.
Yeah. And I always like to think about that in hours, because that's where our kids can connect. Like, okay, so if it's a 32% and you made $100, that would be $32. That would mean you have to work nearly 3 hours at your restaurant job to just pay that. Okay, so now you put it in hours. Oh, I have, and as much as she doesn't really like to work, I'd have to work 3 hours making cheese conies? No, okay. So anyway, this is not an important conversation if you're okay with letting your kids being raised and coming up as consumers, because we live in a consumer-driven lifestyle and way. And so being a consumer has a lot of benefit to those who are producing, because it creates money in their pocket, okay? And so if you're okay with, hey, consume, fine. But at some point, we made a decision here, Lynn and I, and many of you listening, that we're called to be more than consumers. We are called to serve, which is actually a producer sort of aspect or mindset. And so to do that, we need to wrap our head around how do we start and how do we go through it?
Yeah. So, we got to think about what season of life our kids are in, right? So, we've talked about seasons of parenting before, but it's really important that if you have an infant, right, 0 to 2, yes, God has called you.
Absolute consumer.
Yes, you're right. And it's exhausting.
And he produces a lot of poop.
Yeah, but it is exhausting when you're serving, you're changing diapers, you're feeding them, you're changing them, you're rocking them. And that is part of that season, right? But we don't want to do that to our 13-year-old. Right. So 0 to 2 is the service where we are strictly treating them as a consumer. We're not expecting them to be able to do their laundry or feed themselves yet. Actually feed themselves usually a little bit.
Starts too.
Yeah.
It starts,
But again, a lot of consumer, very little producing.
Yeah. But the biggest part of our work actually starts with when we're raising our kids in this producer-consumer thing, starts in the leadership, the second season, where we're starting from the age of 3 and we go up into the early teen years. And so this is where we're going to really focus a lot of our conversation today, all right?
Yeah.
It starts in the leadership season, and we're going to go through some different things. Like I have 10 different things here that we can start walking through with our kids. A lot of these are not mind-blowing, guys. These are things that probably your parents did with you, but part of what we're talking about today is be intentional.
Yep.
Be intentional. Like, this is not just happenstance. If we live in a very comfortable world, and it's very easy to allow your kids to just stay consumers.
Yeah.
And so we actually have to spend probably more time teaching productivity than if you were 100 years ago and you had to keep the farm going just so that your family could be fed.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. We've talked about this before. When you've got a family that lives on a farm, those kids learn very early. You don't sit around and play video games before school in the morning. You're out feeding the chickens or collecting the eggs or, watering the cows or whatever it is. Like, you learn in that leadership season. And so it starts in the leadership season 3 to about 12, 13. And then it's reinforced in the mentorship season, which is the teens, the 13 to 18, depending on when they leave the nest, right? We have going to be a 19-year-old this summer, but that's that mentoring season where we have got to, not because we can, just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Right,
and so we start to back off and let them have some responsibility. If they want that freedom, with freedom comes responsibility. So if they want all these freedoms, but yet have no responsibility, it's our fault.
Yeah, yeah. So a couple of scriptures that just go with this, and by the way, there's no shortage of scriptures that talk about the importance.
You don't work, you don't eat.
Of service. That's right, right. But Mark 10:45 says, "For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." To give, right?
Yeah.
We joke around here all the time. Are you a giver or a taker? Are you a giver or a taker?
Well, what is that? What was that phrase you used when you were the guidance counselor? Are you a bucket filler?
Bucket filler or
bucket emptier?
I know it had a different term. Bucket spiller.
Bucket dipper?
Dipper.
Yeah.
A dipper. Are you dipping in the bucket or are you pouring in the bucket? Yeah.
1 Peter 4:10-11 says, each of you should use whatever gift you've received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in the various forms. Do not be slothful.
I love the word. Yeah.
Do not be slothful in zeal. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so here we go. Get out your pen. Quick,
Yeah.
we're going to do 10 quickies here on how you guys can come together and make the start of this summer better in terms of how we're raising our kids up. The very first thing, we've talked about this so many times, in all things parenting, unification, all right? And so the very first thing is get you and your spouse on the same page of saying, well, what do we believe in? What do we agree on? What's important? What's not important? If you try to go this alone, it's not going to take long before the old strangulation thing begins to happen. Well, mom never tells me to do that. Dad doesn't make me do that. And the next thing you know, you are cutting each other out of the picture.
By the way, a lot of parents get stuck right here. Get stuck right here. And it's really a marital issue more than it's a parenting issue.
Yeah.
And they're not aligning, emotionally, spiritually, relationally. And so because of that, they don't have trust.
Right.
So I would say get some help for that. If number one, being a united front is still already a problem.
Absolutely. Number two, state what you want for your kids. So this, we've talked about many times. When we talk about what we want for our kids, we're not talking about, what we want in the absolute second moment of time. Like right now, I want them to be quiet, or right now, I want, what we're talking about is what is a long-term vision,
picture,
right?
yeah.
What's the big picture? So when they are at the end of that mentorship phase and they're 18 and leaving the house, or 21 or whatever that age looks like in your environment, what do you want them to be like? All right. And so we state that. And again, hon, I was just working with a couple not too long ago, and there were just so many assumptions that, and they were very much on the same page, but how they went about getting to those things. Well, I think you overreact on that one. Well, I think, okay, so in general, we thought we were driving to the same place, but we are taking totally different roads to get there.
Yeah. Number 3, begin with teaching the importance of contributing to the family. Okay. It's important that they know everybody has chores. I have chores, Dad has chores, and you have chores. Meal times, we are a family. We're going to eat together. We're turning off the screens. Everybody's going to help do the dishes. In our home, this has been something that we did since our oldest were little. No one leaves the kitchen until everything is done.
Yeah.
And that blows some couples' minds. Like, really? I thought I was the slave that does it all. No, if you have children who are able to carry a plate over, or put the ketchup back in the fridge, or wipe the table down.
Right.
In our home, everybody's got a job. You're either wiping the table, you're vacuuming, you're washing the dishes, drying the dishes, putting things away. And it goes a lot quicker, and people feel like we're a family.
Yeah, and I just can't emphasize enough here the importance of, are you a contributor to the family, right? And so in all things, let your kids know that it's family first. It's family first. Well, can I go spend time with this person, or go to this friend's house? Well, what does that do to the family, right? Like always starting, how would it impact the family? We're at that age now, hon, where we have teenagers, and sometimes we have family events, and sometimes they're not all that fun and exciting, like you're going to somebody's
grandma's
anniversary party or whatever, and your kids are going, do I have to go? And again, I'm not saying yes or no to that. What I'm saying is you and your spouse come and say, hey, is this a big enough family deal that we want our kids to be contributors to the importance of the family? And if you're like, no, like this is for grandma, and grandma's not going to be with us much much longer.
Yeah.
And our kids need to know that
Yeah.
we need to contribute to the quality of our family. And so these are just the kinds of things that your kids need to know, that we do this for the good of our family.
Yeah, what we're seeing now is this drift where everybody does their own thing.
Right.
No one's really even going and doing something with somebody. We drive separately. We go in our rooms and shut the door. We kind of live our own lives, even as couples sometimes. And so we want to show like, hey, we're going to all watch a movie together. We're all going to eat dinner at the table. We're all going to go hiking together. And so the more you can do that, the more you show like, hey, we work with each other as a family.
Yeah, good stuff. The fourth thing is, and some parents shield their kids from this, and there is a time to shield them from it, okay? But let your kids know what things cost. Not to guilt them. That's ridiculous, all right? Like, I paid $200 for those shoes. You should feel terrible. But to say, hey, okay, so here's what these are going to cost. All right. How are we going to go about covering that? All right. This is outside of a gift, right? When I give my kid a gift, I don't need to say, I just bought you shoes as a birthday gift. And by the way, those cost me. Why don't you, just leave the price tag on the shoes if that's the way you're going to do it. But to let them know the cost of things. And as we talked about, sometimes with kids, it's good, especially early teens, to turn that, if they have a little bit of a job or something, turn it into what it would cost them in hours. Well, that would mean you'd have to go cut 3 yards, or you'd have to go do this service or whatever. So your kids start to realize, there's a quid pro quo here.
Yeah.
There's an exchange.
I had a mom just recently say her son was complaining about having to feed the dog. And like, this is so boring. Why do I have to feed the dog? And she's like, I feed you, let me stop feeding you. How would that feel for you? So it costs you something, and it definitely makes a difference if you don't do it. So number 5, encourage opportunities for them to be responsible, like being in charge of feeding the dog, right? Or being in charge of taking the garbage out every week, or they're in charge of cleaning a bathroom or picking up their toys. So, responsibility is the key for them moving from a consumer to a producer.
If you're a consumer, you're only responsible for yourself. If you're a producer, you're thinking outside of yourself. It's actually also where empathy starts to come, hon. Like if I know if I'm actually going to produce a product, I have to look through the consumer's eyes, right, as to, well, what kind of product would they want? And so that's the start of empathy. And so the idea here, like when you start to give your kids responsibility, it starts to get them outside of their own eyeballs, right? And they have to start to see how things are outside of them. And so giving responsibilities as it relates to the family and taking care of other things.
And I was thinking about the dog again, when he forgets to talk about like, well, how did Fido feel? How would you feel if I forgot to feed you? And so you start to realize like, oh gosh, what I do matters. Like,
do dogs get
angry?
Hangry?
Oh, I bet they
hangry?
do. That's when they start chewing up shoes, right?
Yeah.
So that was number 5. Number 6, teach them to serve and give of their time, talents, and treasures.
Yeah, especially when they start to recognize they have certain talents.
Yeah.
So that, this helps them also, in recognizing some of the gifts that they have, right?
Yeah.
Like, you find out that your kid has the ability to, it doesn't bother them to go work with grandpa, and grandpa's old and everything. And they're like, no, I'll go hang out with grandpa for a little bit. Wow. That is a gift, right?
We have a couple of friends who have kids that are very talented musically, and from
not
us, but from a young age, they have not only really polished those gifts, but they have used them for the Lord. And I just can think of 3 off the bat of I've seen them grow up and take those gifts of singing and playing music, and like now they're leading worship, right?
Yep.
They're doing retreats and coming to schools and singing with kids. And so it's like, wow, when you see them go from, I don't want to spend my Friday night at a women's retreat, or I don't want to go to school early and play for, our before school Bible study or whatever, but when they're willing, man, as a parent, I'm sure those parents are super proud of just the serving and giving back that those kids are doing with their talents.
Yeah. Number 7 is to have an expectation that your kids learn to appreciate things. All right. And so we've all seen this before. We've seen when our kids have received gifts, whether it's a Christmas or birthday, and, 3 days after Christmas or whatever, the thing's laying, whatever, the toy or whatever's laying out in the front yard, broken up, and, is not taken care of.
Yep.
It's been an issue in our house,
Yep.
right? And it's been frustrating. And your kids can get frustrated going, well, I don't, you don't get me this, you don't get me that. And you're like, well, it's really hard for me to want to get you that when there's no appreciation. And the way your kids show that appreciation is learning to take care of, learning to be thankful for, and have some manners about it. And so these are some things that at an early age, you have that expectation that your kids should say thanks and then should take care of.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to instill this in our kiddos by the car matching fund. Like, if you save $5,000, then we'll match that, and you can buy. Well, that was almost what happened with our older.
That almost killed us.
It almost killed us.
Well, how about 2,000?
But the point is that when there's some buy-in, right? When there's some investment, when they learn to appreciate it, when they value it, then you're teaching them to be a producer. And we've even had kids who have spent their money and bought something they thought they wanted and then decided they didn't. And so we had to teach them how to clean it up, fix it up, and then sell it, right? And so they learn to appreciate the value of that
I'm
thing.
thinking of an electric scooter on that.
Or a dirt bike.
Couldn't wait to have.
Yeah. That's number 7.
Yeah, number 8, don't do things that they are capable of doing by themselves or for themselves. And so this can go with both moms and dads. I will see it more often with moms that they maybe sometimes because they just feel like it's their duty or job, and sometimes it's faster, it's easier if you just clean the room or whatever. But the idea of, hey, are they going to be contributors to the family? And if so, then they have to have the opportunity to do these different jobs. And if you're constantly kids, whatever, just go out and go play, I'll take care of the dishes, you really have not done much to help them. And so they're capable of doing these things. And by the way, stretch what you think they're capable of. Kids are usually way more capable of doing things than what you might think. Like we think about laundry. Hun, when did you have our kids start with laundry?
Well, what's funny is that our older two, not nearly as early as I should have. And so our son went to college.
We learned that later.
Our son went to college, you never taught me how. I'm like, that's my fault. But our youngest 3 a lot earlier. And they were capable.
Elementary
12,
age,
like,
early junior high. So again, you're not trying to overload them with things that they're going to get in trouble with or hurt or something, but you'd probably be surprised with a lot of kids. They're more capable. And so stretch that. Just
because you can doesn't mean you should. That should be your mantra. Okay. Number 9, give them examples of people who've chosen that dominant life as consumers, as well as those who've chosen to be producers. When they see this YouTube influencer or this, NBA star or whatever, try to help them see what a producer and a consumer looks like.
Right. I'll go back to my Elvis story.
Yeah.
From the outside, you might think he has it all. The deep, dark, sad life that he lived is just kind of mind-blowing. And, in hindsight, I can read this book and go, you didn't see that coming, but he was so wrapped up into himself that he was miserable, and he was then tried to cover the pain and the loneliness with all of the drugs that he got into, and lots of weird practices too, where he was trying to quench this uneasiness about him. And so the outside might look, and we have kids, oh look, he's got Rolls Royces and he's got Ferraris and he's got all this stuff, but that consumer and ultimately consumes itself.
Yeah. And then number 10, let them know that you did not invent this function of parenting. It was invented by Christ. And so let them know that there is a higher power, that there is a God who loves us, but yet holds us accountable for what we do and what we have and what he expects from us. It's not just our idea. This is God's idea.
Yeah. That's the very first scripture I started with was in Mark, where Christ is saying, I didn't come here to be served. I came here to serve. And so the reason why that's important is because sometimes your kids won't understand why they have to do these stupid things, right? This is stupid. I remember one of our kids saying, "This is so stupid," and I go, "Yeah, stupid will get you stupid." But it goes way beyond what we are making up. Like, we're called to do this because it ultimately produces great things for all of us.
Yeah. So, as we wrap up, this challenge for you is, we have a huge responsibility in raising our children. And what we raise will go on to create the next generation. So think about that. What kind of people that you want leading our country or businesses, or are we training our children up to be those next gen leaders?
Yeah.
Our friend Frank always says, future leaders of our nation. He has even a T-shirt of that. And he believes in investing in and empowering those elementary school kids to say, you can do it. He would come and make them help teach his Sunday school class or work alongside him. He wants to show them, hey, I don't want you to sit on your hands and eat chips and salsa and play video games in the basement until you're a young adult. It's time to go out and be the hands and feet of Christ to make a difference in our world.
All right. So your summer is starting.
Yeah.
Your kids might start with On Board, and they might have such a busy schedule that you're the one driving them all over the place to ball games and activities. This is a time for you to sit down and go, So hopefully this, opens up your mind a little bit to some different thoughts. Get into some conversation with your spouse, get on the same page, and then start to work this and present this to your kids. So.
Yeah. One last thing, hon, because you kind of touched on it a little bit is, yes, we don't want to completely overschedule our kids in the whole summer, but we also want to give them some kind of structure that they aren't just sitting around doing nothing because you're at work all day, okay?
Right.
Give them some kind of daily chores, expectations, like whether it be, I remember our youngest, we had them read so many pages or, do so many things while we were gone so that they at least feel like they produced something, right? That they were productive in their day.
Before I get home from work today, I need these 3 things done, right? And it helps your kids really so much going, all right, that's that executive functioning, well, I better set some time apart to get these things done. So there's a lot of that involved.
Yeah.
All right. So we want to thank our sponsors, Maxwell Construction, Casey's Outdoor Solutions, and the Hoosier Ice House. We also want to thank all of you guys that are out there listening and sharing our show. As Linda said before, share the shows, but also subscribe to the show. If you're just listening to the show, do us a favor and subscribe. The more the subscribers are, the more it ranks up into the search engines to help these kind of messages get out. So we ask for your help in doing that. All right?
Yeah.
I think that's about all we got.
Yeah. So thank you so much for listening to the Rock Solid Families podcast, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day and a great summer.
Rock Solid Families wants to thank Maxwell Construction for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. For over 30 years, Maxwell Construction has been a leader in turning dreams into realities, building schools, banks, restaurants, and many other commercial and public facilities. Maxwell Construction has made it their priority to not just build buildings, but to build into their community. So if you have any construction needs, call them at 812-537-2200.
Rock Solid Families would like to thank Hoosier Ice House for being a proud sponsor of the Rock Solid Families podcast. In the heart of historic Lawrenceburg, Indiana, the Ice House is at the corner of Vine and High Streets. The historic building evokes a feeling of comfort with spacious indoor and outdoor dining, a large bar, and comfortable dining areas. Large enough to host parties, yet intimate enough to feel like your favorite neighborhood restaurant. So thank you again for the Hoosier Ice House for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast.
Solid Families wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for sponsoring the Rock Solid Families podcast. Casey's has grown to be one of the largest and most unique garden centers and gift shops in the Cincinnati tri-state area. Whether you are looking to take on that next landscape project or simply add a little home decor to your house, Casey's has you covered. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Call them today at 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.